Hello, I'm Denis Pinchuk, and today I'm analyzing discussion paper by Matthews Nagy, Social Science Theories and Concepts, the Systema and the Vehicle for Political Change. First, I would like a few words about the substantive arguments of the paper and the arguments that looks essential and very well designed for me. Primarily, I need to underline that Matt presented several solid arguments and conclusive evidence explaining how Russian Systema or network type of governance works and self-reproduces. I do agree that the type of state's governance being developed in Russia based on two things. It's highly personalized network, and at the same time, different functionaries and the groups of functionaries and bureaucrats maintain close ties between each other to make the system running and functioning. As Matt put it, in the correct way, this creates imbalance, and the system of governance suffers from lack or even absence of the institutional and structural methods and tools. This is one of the key reasons, and a number of essential that number of essential issues remain unsolved in the society. So it's a grave problem for the Russian society. Among other useful observations, I found an idea that in the system like Russia has the back channels function really bad or they do not work at all, which prevent using the civil society resources. The arguments presented by Matt that public campaigners and informal grassroots groups are marginalized and are not being taken into consideration by the state. The state-run propaganda did its best to undermine the public trust into citizen activists and voluntary sector, and because of such position of Systema, they hardly influence on the decisions being made. Matt presented numerous essential examples of how the electoral procedure serve to the Systema needs and prevent civil activists and opposition figures from participating and winning elections. Not saying about winning, but even in participating and even in registration, including amendments brought in the past decade to the electoral law. Only ones who are allowed by the states or who are supposed to be spoilers can run as various filtering mechanisms established and successfully implemented. Besides these valid arguments and essential findings, I have several critiques to the analysis. First, as Matt correctly said, overall, citizen activists and voluntary sector groups are not allowed to run the elections, basically. But actually some groups are involved into the process, especially this year. This year shows that in some regions, several opposition figures were able to win seats at the local legislatures, including those from Yabloko Liberal Party and including supporters of key Putin critic Alexei Navalny. This looks like an evidence that in some cases the Russian political system, Russian oppressive system, is not capable of controlling everything, and some regime opponents are successful just by an oversight of the authorities, I think. Second thing, I would discuss a little bit more on material interest. Based on that, the system is working and which unify its functionaries and bureaucrats and keep them connected and functioning. I would add this point to the discussion paper because it looks essential. functionaries and bureaucrats do their best to make a career and stay in the power, and their attempts to stay in the power driven by their desire to obtain wealth, benefits and possibilities. It cements the system, and it keeps the main figures from the authorities close to each other, and it makes them to depend on each other. So it's one of the key features of the system. I do agree with Matt that the Russian political system is an obscure and elusive system, which can be more closely attributed to an occult machination than anything else. Given that, some bright examples of how the authorities prevent civil activists from participating at the election could be provided in the paper. I personally think of activists got beaten by police or by paramilitaries, of them who got arrested and even charged with hooliganism or something other ridiculous charge, and all this is organized and has long been organized to make them drop their election plans and to make them drop their intention to participate in the political life and to influence the decision being made. Or even easier way, if you want to run to local council election, like in St. Petersburg, the second largest Russian city, and you go to find the local election commission to bring you papers and to fulfill the forms, you may never find the local election commission, and you miss the deadline for registration, and so you will not be able to participate. I do not totally agree with the argument that this all erodes the legitimacy of any election, particularly given we are talking particularly about Russia's elections. I believe the legitimacy is a public support and consensus which is now in favor of Putin and his state. Even if the polls conducted in Russia are not something we can trust in full, no doubt that at least more than half of voters support the system, which means the legitimacy is not being eroded. We do not have facts to say that the support wanes or has dropped significantly recently. Unlike Matt, I do not see the evidence and reasons that something will have to change in Russia in the foreseeable future that will change the dynamic of the nation in complex ways. Again, I am afraid the state system enjoys consistent and continued support, and bulk of the citizens believe that everything is okay as soon as there is no return to the 1990s. Most of the people believe that they lived better than in 1990s and the 2000s, no matter whether it's true or not, but they believe, and do not want change, as they are afraid of them and afraid to lose what they have now. And also a set of discussion questions I would like to offer for our debates. Why does Russian regime allow elections at all? Among my possible explanation, but probably there could be a number of other explanations, are following. First, to co-opt elite groups that are not particularly happy with the regime but do not want to fight with the regime. Second, to promote politicians and bureaucrats to keep elite groups rolling and a little bit changing, but changing within Systema's borders and Systema framework and according its rules. Third, to control politicians and bureaucrats in order to quickly remove the ones regime does not want to have in the system anymore, pretending the democracy procedures are being carried out. Fourth, to serve propaganda goals, both internal and external, to show foreign audience that Russia is a democratic state. And my last question is, what are the strengths and weaknesses of such an approach? Thank you, and have a nice discussion. Bye-bye.